Hey. Time for another out-of-this-world story from our space. My wife of 11 years had a long-term affair and expected me to stay and fix everything. After I found out, I met someone new and left her. Sorry for the super long post. My wife abandoned me for another man. She was my best friend and the person I trusted the most in the world. I found out that she had been the other woman in this man's marriage before I married her, and they reconnected on Instagram 10 years later and started an intimate and physical relationship back on. The pandemic was hard on us. I lost my creative director job in the travel industry early in 2020 when lockdown happened, and because she had a very secure and well-paying job in clinical research, we decided that I should take on freelance work as I could, but would become full-time dad and caregiver to our two small children while she worked her job from home. So I dove into my new role. I took her kids on nature adventures, planned activities, took care of meals, shopping, did arts and crafts, got them down for naps, helped my daughter through kindergarten virtual learning while my wife worked and took 2-hour naps and locked me out of my own room daily. When I'm stressed, I become a massive people pleaser, and she knew that and took advantage of it. She also had an alcohol addiction problem and would hide boxes of wine from me. I tried to help her with all of that and keep her accountable because she asked me to, but I would still find hidden boxes of wine in random places. Still, I loved her and I tried so hard to always be there for her and to make her life more comfortable, even as she used me as her negativity and complaint sounding board. She started seeing a therapist for the first time during this time, and that made me super happy because I knew she had some issues to work through. So she would leave during the week to go see her therapist and would come back a few hours later. I eventually discovered that a lot of these times she wasn't going to see her therapist, but was going to have rendezvous with her affair partner. I thought things were starting to get better between us a little, and we even went and updated the diamond in her ring while she was sleeping with the other man. It was crazy because my heart knew something was up and that something was very wrong in our relationship. Our intimacy was way off, and when I tried to bring it up, she would gaslight me a lot and say everything was fine. During the pandemic, my best friend had moved to Lake Tahoe and was trying to get me out to visit him. When I brought it up to my soon-to-be ex, she was excited and even helped me purchase my ticket. When I saw my friend in Tahoe, he could tell something was way off with me, and later said I looked more down than he'd ever seen me. I was only gone 3 to 4 days, but it was crazy how much I missed her while I was gone. When I got home from Tahoe, I returned to a very frazzled wife. From apparently keeping our kids for 3 days by herself, I'm sure they were together the whole time my kids were in school. She was so upset, and when she mentioned getting herself a hotel room for a few days, I obviously was like, yes, please do that. Go recharge. So I kept my kid for the weekend and missed her the whole time. When she got home, she had just gone to the salon, and she looked beautiful to me. I was happy to see her and was like, hey, it's been a minute. Maybe we can do it later? And she agreed. That evening, while she was giving the kids a bath, she had left her phone on the kitchen counter, and I have no idea what drove me to it, but suspicion was up. I'd never picked her phone up and looked through it before, but this day, I did, and I found an app that I had heard of that was for secret messaging. I opened it, typed in our anniversary as the password, and then saw a text that would give me trauma and change my life forever. It read from her, have a great run, babe. Miss you already. But, babe? Babe? That's my name. My whole world came crashing down. There was no name for who this was, just some initials and connected to a phone number. So I did a reverse search and found out who this man was. I looked him up on Facebook and found his profile and left it open on my phone and went and got in the shower and was shaking and crying my brains out. I got out of the shower probably an hour later, and she had put the kids to bed. I came out, and I knew she knew that I knew. She put on a baseball for me and sounded panicked. I asked her to sit down and said, who is he? She came clean and told me about him, and that they had an intimate and emotional relationship for almost a year. I hate to say it, but I lost it. I freaked out, cried my brains out, had an emotional breakdown, and eventually left the house to go cry with a friend all night. The discovery traumatized me. I stayed at my friend's house for a night or two, and then it was my son's 4th birthday. I wanted him to have a great birthday despite all this, so I let my wife hang with the kids for a while, and then I packed my kids up and took them to my sister's a few hours away. I asked my wife over and over if she had ended their relationship, and she says she hadn't because she wanted closure with her partner. I got back and had to take her to the hospital because she thought she was dying, but it was a panic attack. I sat with her in the most depressing hospital room ever, comforting her after she had broken my heart, shattered my world, and had not yet ended her relationship with the other man. It took her almost 2 weeks to be able to tell me that she ended it with him. Those weeks were literally torture for my mind, body, and soul. I went and stayed at an Airbnb and I lost probably 15 to 20 pounds. Anyway, I didn't have a full-time job yet, and she was a breadwinner at the time, and I couldn't leave my kids. I loved them with my whole heart, so I felt stuck. So we separated in the same house. I began sleeping on the couch, and my son eventually moved on his own into his sister's room, and I lived on an air mattress in his room, while my wife continued to sleep in her old room. She eventually told me that it was over with her affair partner and that him and his wife were going to try and work on their marriage and that she wanted to go to counseling and work on ours. I reluctantly agreed, but I knew deep down that she had done the very thing I told her would end a relationship, and I wasn't kidding about that, and I was no longer attracted to her. We started counseling, and that opened Pandora's box for me. It made me take off my rose-colored glasses about so many things in our relationship and the way I had been treated over the years. And I knew it was over the one time we tried to be intimate, and all I could see were images of this man in my head. A few months into this, it wasn't going anywhere, and she still was not proving to me that she actually loved me and wanted to be with me, and she hated when I asked questions about her affair, and we got into numerous fights. One warm summer day, I asked her if she wanted to take the day off and go to the lake with me and the kids. She said she couldn't, so, like usual, I took the kids to the lake by myself. When I was walking up to the lake, I saw a beautiful woman lounging with her 2 kids. I set up my stuff a little over from her, and eventually our kids started playing together. And so her and I started chatting and didn't stop chatting for almost 6 hours. We felt an instant connection and had an enormous amount in common. She was going through a separation herself. I left that day and couldn't stop thinking about her. But I let that go, and for the next few weeks, still tried to go to counseling and work on my marriage. Eventually, this woman and I connected on Instagram and began talking and enjoying each other's company. Nothing physically. Long story short, my wife found out that we had been talking and lost her crap on me and told me I was no better than her, etc. I told her I would try and end it, and I did. But it only lasted a little time before I realized I wanted to keep talking to this woman. So eventually, I found a great job and told my wife that I had to move out and that I would maybe pursue a relationship with this woman. It's been about 6 months since I moved out and do my own, and we have started the divorce process that my wife has made so much of my life a living hell and has made me feel so guilty for leaving her and pursuing another relationship after what she did. Every time she has found out that I have been talking or hanging out, she has lost her mind on me and said the most hurtful things to me imaginable, all while she tweets about her own single dating life. I spent Thanksgiving Day with the woman I met, and my ex ruined my day and made me feel completely awful. Come to find out, my wife was still talking to her affair partner until New Year's Eve, when the man's wife found a letter he had been writing to my ex. She confessed this to me when she thought the man's wife had contacted me. She hadn't, so the whole time she was laying into me. I should mention that I don't ever lay into her anymore about her affair. She was still carrying on with him. Anyway, I really like this woman still, and feel like I could maybe love and trust her, trying to stay as kind as possible to her and be discreet and understanding, while still exploring the relationship. And I don't feel like I'm in the wrong for leaving, following my heart and moving on after my heart wound, but maybe I am. I still care for my soon-to-be ex-wife, and I miss the memory of the person that I thought I knew and loved, but the moment I found out about this betrayal, it fundamentally changed the way in which I view her and our future together. I never wanted to be divorced. I hate it. But I know my heart, and I know when it's broken so badly by someone and when it's trying to move on. It's gone, and so is the trust. And even though I'm very in love with my nostalgic memories from our past together, and occasionally miss her a lot, we're no longer compatible because she forever broke my trust. It's crazy because I was so loyal and would have remained that way through the darkest days. But this was where I drew the boundary, and it was crossed, and I'm having to move on from this relationship and marriage. My main goal is just to be the best dad and co-parent that I possibly can be, while still enjoying and moving on with my life. We're doing good with managing the kids so far, and the kids have adjusted to 2 households. And we are splitting everything 50-50. But I still have a lot of anxiety from all of this, and I still feel the trauma and grief of what I went through. I have a therapist, and that is helping some. Anyway, I just needed to share this story. I think there is hope for the future still in my love life, and I'm thankful in the end that I can move forward, but none of this has been easy. Our first reaction comes from Scorpio BW 1980. Screw your wife. Go the courts. They can make it so you both have to download this app that is specifically for communicating about your children. Then you continue with the divorce stuff. There is absolutely no reason you should feel guilty for moving on with your life. Remember, she did this, not you. You seem like a decent person and a good dad. Let her suffer. She created this mess. Actions have consequences. It also seems like this new lady gets along with you well. Keep it going. Don't worry about someone else's, your wife, feelings, when she clearly wasn't worried about yours while running rampant with her affair partner. The OP responds, thank you. Actions absolutely do have consequences, and her actions traumatized me and changed my brain chemistry. It's going to take me so many years to heal from all of this, and it sucks. And it sucks for my kids, too. Infidelity ruins lives. Our next reaction's from Accomplished Ferret 70. Prospect Victor, I'm so sorry for what your wife has put you through. You're doing the right things by moving on. You deserve to be with someone who respects you, and someone you can trust. Your wife isn't that person. You deserve a chance at happiness. Go for it. Best wishes. Difficulty-free 5724 chimes in. When I'm stressed, I become a massive people pleaser, and she knew that and took advantage of it. That's so relatable, and it's scary. I had a breakdown too, man. It's nothing to be ashamed of. She was your whole world, and I understand the feeling completely. I also confronted her after I found out about my wife. It was just a few months ago, and I'm trying to work through it and better myself, but I don't know if I'll stay. Thank you for sharing. It's helped me so much. One more quick thought from Devil6978 King. These hoes ain't loyal. Ditch the witches before getting stitches. On to the next story. Should I tell my ex's fiance that he was cheating on me with her when they met? I read it. New poster here. Just found out some info and feel like I need some advice. I, 26 female, and my ex, we will call him Fred, 28 male, started dating about 4 years ago. We met at work and hit it off. We dated for about a year and a half and were pretty involved in each other's lives. For example, he went on a trip with my whole family a few months before the breakup. Well, Fred started acting super weird and distant, like ignoring my calls and avoiding hanging out with me. We both still lived at home. Anyway, we broke up after I initiated a conversation about how he was being distant, and he basically told me we just weren't working anymore. About a week after the breakup, Fred called me around 2 a.m. telling me he was a horrible person and that he had been cheating on me. Definitely seems like the guilty conscience got to him because we had no contact from mutual friends or reasons to communicate with each other. He could have said nothing, and I would have never known. He told me it had happened more than once. I didn't ask who it was, but I had my suspicions that it was a girl he met at work. Same place he had met me. I didn't work there anymore. Mostly because he had talked about her, and he was texting a girl pretty often that he said was his aunt. I now realize that was BS. We kept in contact briefly with him, still wanting to stay friends. Then I decided for my own well-being to get contact and block him on all social media. I did not block his number, but did not text him at all. Shortly after, I moved across the country and was on with my life. He has texted me about once a year, asking how I'm doing and wishing me well. I never respond. Well, today, I got curious and Googled his name. I'm a dumbass, I know. I found a wedding site for him and his fiancée. They're getting married late this year. Of course I clicked on it because I couldn't help myself. Well, in this site is the story of them. This story of them all but confirms that she was the girl he cheated on me with. Without revealing details, it confirmed they met at a place of work. Context, he left his job about 2 months left in our relationship, so he definitely met her while we were dating, and he had even mentioned her a few times. Their story also talks about how he hounded her to grab a drink with her for weeks. Yes, direct quote. Until she finally caved. The timeline completely lines up for it to have been her that he was seeing. He even told me that he told her that we were casual because their social media profiles were with each other when she asked who I was. I also vividly remember the name of his fiancée being the same name as his aunt he was texting. The fact that they mentioned these times when he was dating someone else, me, on their marriage website, tells me he likely never told her about our relationship, so I'm sure you know where I'm going. Should I tell her the truth? It's been so long that I barely think about him. I know we were not great together, and that I dodged a bullet, but I can't help but feel like she should know what she's signing up for. I do not want to be a petty witch. Okay, maybe like 5% of me does, but I feel like their love is built on the foundation of a lie, and I definitely don't want to come off as the crazy ex. Part of me thinks someone in his family or a friend would have told her since they knew we were together, but they were kind of crappy people and maybe don't know the full timeline. Anyway, any thoughts would be greatly appreciated. I don't have any way to contact her now, so I'd likely need to find her on social media and get in contact. Thanks, Reddit. First answer from MatsGirlCA says, I'd say forget it and move on. Next thought from ARC19790. You've gone no contact. Other than hurting her, what does this achieve? Maybe he is different, and as painful as it is to realize he probably loves her in a way he didn't love you. Perhaps he will do the same. Perhaps not. But that's none of your business. Live your own life. Forget they exist. Last thought before moving on from Complicated Wolf. You can tell her, but when she confronts him, you're going to look like the crazy one who is still obsessed years later, and that's exactly what he's going to tell her. You're not wrong to tell her, just don't expect it to go anywhere. She may choose to believe him instead, or forgive him anyway. He may have to do it to her a few times before she really understands how skeezy he is, but that's on her, and all you can do is provide her with information. On to the next adventure. My husband of 3 years just told me he fell in love with his coworker. He told me I'm the most loving, supportive person he's ever met, and he doesn't know why he'd fall in love with her, that he loves me so much, and he wants to start a family with me, but his feelings are all over the place. He has body dysmorphia because his work colleagues pick on him for being smaller and weaker than they are, physically demanding job. This may have something to do with it, I don't know. This is just a few sentence summary of the 30-minute phone call we had. I just feel so lost right now, and my brain is scattered in a million different directions at the moment. I suggested marriage counseling, and he's up for that, even though we both hate therapists, so hopefully things will be able to work themselves out. He confessed this like an hour ago, and I feel like punching him. Thankfully, he's away on a work trip. Yes, this is a confirmed work trip, not a work trip, as I know some of you will suggest. I feel awful for wanting to do that, but this just makes me so angry and sad at the same time. We just had a discussion a few months ago about how he was hiding Tinder and Bumble accounts from me, and talking to women on those apps, and to social media and text messages. I thought that things would be fine after that, that you knew exactly how I felt and didn't want to hurt me anymore. I'm at the end of my wits right now, and any advice regarding what to do next would be appreciated. I do not want to get a divorce, but if that has to happen, it will. Like I said, we will be going to marriage counseling once he gets back from his trip. But for now, I'm home alone, losing my mind for another week. And no, we don't have any children, and I'm not pregnant, so separation should be simple enough if it comes to that. I'm crying, not just because of the situation, but because I broke my record of months without smoking a cigarette. I know, bad habit to start up again, but holy F, it's been a bad day. It quit 8 months ago, and this just hit me like a ton of bricks. ETA, spelling, and this. He says he has never physically cheated on me, and that the coworker is unaware of his affection towards her. He is in the U.S. Army, and both of them could get jail time if an affair was discovered. Because she is an NCO, he is an enlisted soldier. I don't know how much I should believe of what he says. First reaction from not the prob. This man was actively seeking to date and screw other women on dating apps, and now he's told you he's fallen in love with a coworker? Throw the entire man out. Pack his stuff while he's gone, let him know that he cannot stay there, and get a lawyer immediately. Get everything you can in the divorce and move on to a man who actually will be faithful. Next thought from Richie J86. Yeah, it's one thing to be in an emotional affair that's slowly developed from a friendship, but this here is premeditated purposeful attempts to hook up with somebody and finally hitting the jackpot with his coworker. Nah, I would like to believe that's beyond counseling, at least to me. The OP responds, as far as I'm aware, she has no idea that he has feeling for her. I don't know how much I believe that, but oh well. If they'd actually done something about it and had a record of it, I'd be more than happy to get both of them court-martialed. I want to at least try marriage counseling so I don't have to go through the hassle of separation and divorce, as well as get Jag involved because both of them are in the Army, and his love interest is an NCO, while he's not. On to G. Van Winkle, 1976's comments. You want to give him a chance after he was actively seeking an affair? Don't be like a lot of us here and go after reconciliation for a year or two and have it happen all over again, because if you do, you just condoned his behavior, and it will happen again. You get away with it once, and you take him back. Why would he not try it again? You will figure out how to hide it better. If you're already thinking you don't know him anymore, it's because he has shown you who he really is. And is that the person you want to be married to? Think wisely, OP. Reconciliation is hard, even in the best of situations. This man said of dating apps while being married to you. Then he tells you he has fallen for someone else? I understand that after years of marriage, the people start taking each other for granted, but falling in love with another woman, who he says doesn't even know, sounds very suspicious to me. How do you fall for someone who isn't at least entertaining the idea of wanting something with him? Why crush you like this? If he doesn't have some idea, the feeling is reciprocated. Unless he is actively trying to run you off. Either way, it's not good. Post up if you can, make him work for it, or pay the consequences if he doesn't. If you are even entertaining the idea of reconciliation, I think you'll find out that it's easier to leave than go through this process. You'll always wonder what he's doing, who he's talking to, and become a hall monitor. Watching the clock as he's supposed to be home at a certain time, and when he's not, wondering what he's doing. I'm not saying it doesn't suck to lose a person you loved, but in a sense, you already have. Vape Life Old is New chimes in. I strongly recommend reading Leave a Cheater, Gain a Life by Chump Lady. Whether you end up staying or leaving, it does a great job outlining the cheater's playbook and providing great perspective to us chums. Even if he's never gotten physical, this is being a big if. He still destroyed both the standard boundaries of marriage and the specific boundaries that you outlined. He is a cheater. One more comment from No Mud 8971. Start preparing to get divorced. Cover all your bases.